Hi, it's Mason, and the day this video goes up, it's going to be Sunday, February 23rd, 2020, and that means it is System Pride Day. This day is a day that brings awareness to systems. So a system is someone that experiences multiplicity, which is someone that has multiple parts to them. So like, obviously people have many parts, like I have a hand and a foot and a head and a torso, but that's not what I mean. I mean multiple identities. On this channel you have met myself, Mason. You have also met Carnelian and Caelan. We have many other parts to this system. There's like Bug, Dolly, and Kimmy, and Peter, and I can't name them all. There's like 20 of us, 21, I don't know. Anyway, so this day is meant for systems like us. There are many types of systems. There are systems like DID systems like us. There are systems that are OSDD systems, which are similar to DID systems, but they have like different criteria in the diagnostic criteria. There are also systems that are like, what's it called? They're like systems that are created from not necessarily a medical standpoint or a neurodevelopmental standpoint, but maybe from like a spiritual standpoint, and that's totally valid as well. And there are systems that are come from like trauma, and there are systems that maybe don't remember their trauma. Whatever type of system you may be, or maybe you're not a system and you are a single person, that's great too. You're here and you're learning. That's amazing. Welcome. We are happy to have you here. Whatever you are valid, you are welcome. We love to have you here, and we are sending you love, light, and pure intention. Thank you for joining us. We hope you enjoy this video. Caelan put in a lot of work recording this video, and they are sharing a very personal story. They are sharing how they figured out that we existed. So I hope you enjoy this. Please forgive all of my ums. I'm like winging this whole introduction. Sorry. I wing everything. Hi, I'm Caelan, and for this video, for System Pride Day, I'm going to talk about how I sort of figured out that I was a system, and that I had like, I guess, multiple parts. Yeah, I guess that's the best way for me to explain. All of my alters is like they're parts of me. So when I was in high school, I'm gonna backtrack to high school. When I was in high school, I would hear like murmuring, mumbling, like voices urging me to do things. Not necessarily things I wanted to do, or I would just like have times where I would just be completely gone, and I would have done things that I didn't remember doing. I would have texted friends, and I didn't remember texting my friends those things, or I would have posted things on the internet and I didn't remember posting those things on the internet. I would have like posted things on Facebook and Twitter, or Tumblr even. Tumblr is dead. But I would have posted things on Facebook, Twitter, and Tumblr, and I wouldn't have remembered posting those things. I'd have like no recollection of posting those things, and I'd look back and I'm like, why would I have typed that? Why would I say that? That sounds so silly. Like, none of that makes any sense, and I don't feel that way at all. Or I would have like eaten some sort of candy that I absolutely hated, like Payday. I don't like Payday. Peanuts and caramel, not my favorite combination personally. Too sticky, too crunchy. Don't like it. But yeah, I like. So back in high school is when the first like signs that I noticed of dissociative identity disorder, or some sort of dissociative disorder, was going on. Like, I was losing time, I was doing things I had no idea that I was doing, but I didn't really like connect the dots. Like, we had talked about dissociative identity disorder, and like multiple personality and all of that stuff in my high school psychology class, but it was always like some taboo, super rare, like Sybil or Eve, like 3 Faces of Eve, or like Sybil, or like, I don't know, comic books and movies and things like that. Or I remember walking into my room, walking into my mom's room. She had a TV at the foot of her bed, and she would watch some show like United States of Terror, and that was something that was about someone with multiple personality, DID, and like that was like, it wasn't something that I thought of with myself, you know? I remember watching an Oprah special, and there was probably an Oprah special with someone who had DID, but like it didn't connect with me that the experiences that these people were having were similar experiences that I was having, like eating candy bars that I didn't remember eating, or posting on the internet that I didn't remember posting, or texting friends and not remember texting. I thought I just had really bad memory, you know? I just thought, oh, I just keep forgetting. Or like walking into a room and having no idea why I walked into that room, but like knowing I had a purpose, and not knowing what my purpose was in that room. Because I'm like, you know, other people probably experience this too. Or like hearing voices in my head telling me to do things. That should have like clued me off, like, hey, that's not normal. But that did not clue me in to anything. Even though that right there, the hearing a voice in my head talking to me, or not specifically that, but like making decisions and then like arguing in my own head about making decisions. So like, what shirt should I wear? You know, that shirt is really like having a whole discussion in my head with other people that were also in my head about my clothing choices or my food choices or any other thing, like having full-on discussions in my head with the other people in my head. Like, apparently I thought that was a normal thing to do. I now know that not everybody does that. No one ever told me that not everybody does that. I remember distinctly writing on my Twitter, I wish these Imaginites, this is what I called the voices that were in my head that would just, I remember writing something like, I wish these Imaginites would just shut up, or something like that. But those were what I called the people, my other people that were in my head. I just wish they would just shut up, because they would just keep talking and they just wouldn't shut up, and I just wanted to go to bed. And they would just keep talking. I now know that these Imaginites are my alters. And they still don't shut up when I want to go to bed. So I'm still there. But as I got older, and I continued into like college, and as I continued diving into addressing my trauma, my alters started making themselves more known. Instead of just yammering about in my head and fronting covertly, they started making more overt appearances. And it was really interesting. So my caretaker alter, and that is what I will call them, that is how I will label them, is a caretaker alter, because that is what they do for the system, is they take care of the body, in that they make sure that the body gets food and water and rest when needed, when the rest of us aren't doing a very good job of that. They make sure we take our medicine when we're supposed to, and they just generally do a very good job of taking care of the body. So our caretaker alter is named Peter. But Peter is also kind of an emotional caretaker as well, and they do that by like retail therapy. So Peter will just sometimes online shop, and so I would just be Peter would be online shopping, and we made like a bunch of purchases that I had no recollection of, and I was like blowing through money that I did not have, and I needed to pay bills, and I needed to figure this out, because not only was I blowing through money, but I was also eating all of my ice cream, which was a big problem because that ice cream was not thoroughly enjoyed, because I could not recall eating my ice cream, and that's such a sad existence for me, okay? You need to understand that when I can't remember eating my ice cream, I get real sad about it. So, yeah, I found, the first time I actually started talking to my therapist about my dissociation, and I'm like, hey, I think I might be dissociating, was when it wasn't the big purchases actually that I couldn't remember, because I thought, maybe I just have really bad memory, and maybe I just, because it was all stuff that I wanted anyway, it was all stuff off my wish list, so I'm like, maybe I just have really bad memory, maybe I accidentally bought it, and I just, you know, maybe I'm just a really bad impulsive spender. That's what I thought. No, it wasn't the it wasn't the spending that clued me into my dissociation. It wasn't the posting on social media, it wasn't texting my friends that clued me into my dissociation. It was the ice cream. And that's the first time I brought it up to my therapist, and I'm like, hey, I think I might be dissociating. That was the first time I ever brought that up. And mind you, through high school, I did not have any mental health care. I did not go to therapy, did not have, didn't have a therapist, didn't have any counseling, nothing. Did not have any mental health care until I turned 18. And the first time I brought up dissociation to my therapist with the ice cream was probably when I was 20. So this had all been going on from the time I was probably about 14 to the time I'm 20. So that's a good 6 years of things going on that I can recall. Like, I can point out little things, like things had been going on for at least 6 years. Probably longer, because as you may know, DID is developed in early childhood. So there are probably other things that happened, but I can only really recall things overtly happening with my alters starting at around age 14. But yeah, so that's kind of what I remember. Mind you, these memories are my memories as Caelan, and some memories that have been integrated in from Charlotte, who is our previous host. So, what is my cat doing? Did you see that? Okay, whatever, it's fine. Anyway, our previous host was named Charlotte, and she hosted for a very, very long time. Pretty much from like infancy all the way up through to like senior year of high school. And then that's when I came in, was around senior year of high school. I started coming in, and then we got all blendy. And then in college was when we were really blendy. And then after we started therapy, Charlotte aged down and stayed little, and I stayed big and became host. And that's what happened in our system. And that was a really interesting time, because while that was happening, we were still trying to figure out what was happening, like what we were. Like, we didn't fully understand what a system was, but that still happened in our system without us really realizing that was happening. We figured out that had happened after we found out what a system was, and after we found out what DID was, and after we educated ourselves on dissociative identity disorder. So yeah, that was a really interesting time, and I guess that's all I can share about how I figured out I was a system. I guess really education was very helpful for us to solidify what we really were. So like, if we hadn't had the internet, and if we hadn't had a therapist who was trauma informed and knew what multiplicity was, and knew what complex post-traumatic stress disorder was, and knew what DID and OSDD was, we would have no idea what the fuck was going on with us. So that was really, really important as well. But yeah, that's what I can share on this.